Google just released their biggest AI update ever to Google Sheets. You can now use AI to create formulas and transform entire worksheets, which can save you hundreds of hours using AI. It's basically Excel on steroids. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use it to optimize your business or your workflow today. I'm going to show you 7 practical examples and ways you can use it right now for free. You're not going to want to miss this, so let's jump right in. All right, so this is a huge update that Google just released a few days ago. I actually just put this out on X. So if you don't follow me there, follow me at Mark Gadala on X. I dropped this information there first. So if you want to get this info before I have time to make YouTube videos, definitely give me a follow there. And I'm going to basically show you everything I do in this X thread here that I think is really, really useful. Also, if you're interested in having AI strategies implemented for your business, just go to lucidaistrategies.com. I'll put a link in the description below. Just go to the form down at the bottom here and just sign up. Just basically drop a line here, send me a message, and I'll go ahead and do a free strategy call for your business to implement AI into whatever workflow you have. All right, so let's jump into how to do this. It's actually really, really simple. So I'm here in Google Drive. I'm just going to go to New Sheets, and I'm just going to walk through each one of these examples with you one by one so you can see just how powerful this is. So when you jump in now, you should see this option here to help me create a table using AI with new AI enhanced tables. And I'm going to show you some of their featured options that are actually really, really useful. So let's start with feedback collection. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert this. And the idea here is if you have a business that gets a lot of feedback, right? Whether this is customer feedback for an e-commerce store, whether it's service feedback for a service business, whatever that feedback may be, feedback is super important for your business and you need to know what to do with it. So in this case, this would be like an e-commerce store. You have a date, you have a purchase ID, and you have the feedback. Now, these new AI formulas, and the way you use this, by the way, is just like any Excel formula or Sheets formula, it's going to be equals, right? And then you have the function, and then you describe what that function is going to do. So in this case, it's equals AI. So that's the new function, equals AI. And then in this case, it's going to be categorize the sentiment of the customer feedback as positive, negative, or neutral, capitalize the first letter of the categorization, okay? So you're going to add that, and then you're going to click this Gemini button, and it's going to generate and insert that. You can see here, this is positive, and if I drag this down, it's going to go ahead and do this. Actually, if you drag it down, it's going to copy it, but you're going to actually have to do this each time. There's a way to do this faster. I'll show you later. But essentially, you can just go ahead and actually categorize these immediately. So you can see this one's positive, this one's negative, and this one's negative, okay? Now, this can be a huge time saver, but the other thing you can do is actually categorize these. So you can see this function is categorize the customer inquiry as a compliment, exchange request, or return request, right? So we need to know, is this a compliment? So they're just trying to tell us something nice. Is this an exchange request? So they want to exchange this item for something else? Or is this a return request? Now, the other thing you'll notice here is that after the AI prompt, you have the C2, right? So it's referencing what cell to reference here. So this is all going to be in the feedback cell, and that's actually going to be the same for the sentiment here. So again, if I run this prompt, generate and insert, it's going to go ahead and run it. So this is just a compliment. This one is an exchange request, and this one is a return request, right? So in a matter of seconds using AI, we have the sentiment of the feedback and we have the category of the feedback. Now, something you could do if you have something like Trustpilot or another tool for collecting feedback, or if you're using Shopify for reviews and feedback, is you can actually use the Zapier integration and integrate Zapier directly into Google Sheets, get all that feedback into Google Sheets, and then use AI to categorize and add sentiment. Okay, so this is one really, really powerful thing you can do. So let's move on to the next one here. So I'm just going to open up a new spreadsheet here and we'll go over the next example. So every time I open a new sheet right now, because this is a new feature, it's going to keep showing me this. This might not be here forever, but this is something you can do right now. So let's go into expense classification. Now, this is huge for taxes. Now, I just did my taxes. I actually use Cursor to help me a lot with my taxes. So I might make a video on this. If you're interested, drop a comment. Let me know if you're interested in seeing how I did this. But essentially, I use Cursor to upload all the PDFs from all of my tax documents, my bank documents, my credit card statements, etc. I had to categorize those, and I had to put those in and basically add all those up, right? So I could add up where all my expenses went to do my taxes, save me literally 3 or 4 hours of time instead of having going through my whole, statements, which is a massive pain because they always miscategorize them in the statements. So I had to do this, and AI did an excellent job using Sonnet. But you can now use Google Sheets to do this, and if I had known, I probably would have used Google Sheets. And essentially what this is doing, so in this example statement, you have dates, you have a vendor, you have an item description, you have an amount, and you have a payment type. Okay, so this is a bank transfer, credit card, a cash, cash payment, etc. Right, and then you have, it's a flight, it's breakfast, right? Here's the vendors, etc. Right. So the AI formula for the expense category is equals AI. Categorize the expenses: travel, lodging, meals, equipment, or entertainment based on the item description and the vendor. And it's referencing A2 and E2, right? So it's referencing the date and it's referencing the payment type. Okay, so this is actually really important. So now if I hit generate here, it's going to now generate this expense category. So this one's lodging. This one is going to be travel, right? So actually it didn't use that. It used the description and the vendor, right? So this actually wasn't correct. So it's using it's using slightly different fields. But again, lodging, travel, meals, right? So really, really great way. And this is going to say insufficient information because there's actually nothing here, right? This is empty. But the ones that do have data, the sample data, you can see it is filling these out. So really great way to save a ton of time in doing your taxes. All right, so let's move on to the next one here. So I'm going to open up a new sheet. Now, this one I thought was super, super powerful. So this is going to be ad creation, okay? So in this ad creation one, if you run Google ads or Facebook ads, one of the big things you have to do is A/B testing for ad copy. So I've run millions of dollars worth of Google ads and Facebook ads in the past, and ad copy is super important. So this is actually really, really creative. And what they're doing here, so you have a product, you have the objective, you have the audience target, and it's asking to write AI copy. So I guess what I didn't say correctly in the last one here is you see how it's A6 through E6. So it's actually saying take all this information, right? So reference all of these fields, right, for your analysis in the AI. So if I come back to this sheet here, you see it's A2 through C2. So it's asking you to take, it's telling the AI to take all the data in the A2 cell, the B2 cell, and the C2 cell to write a formal ad copy for the product, indirectly cater the copy to the objective and the target audience, right? So if I'm writing a bunch of ads, right, so let's say this is legal services, right? Let's say this is, an e-commerce product, right? Could be a SaaS product, whatever it is. I want to write this formal ad copy and I want to use this information, right? I want to use the product, the objective, and the audience target. Now, you could actually take this even further. You could say, write me 2 paragraphs, right? Or tailor this copy however you want. So you basically give it the exact objective you want, really, hone in on the details of how you want it to write this copy, and it'll go ahead and do that for you. So if you see, if I generate an insert here, it goes ahead and writes this ad copy for me. And it's also giving you the option to write a secondary ad copy. So this is a formal ad copy. This is a short, casual social media ad, right? So essentially, you could do this for a million different types, right? Using this same exact information, right? And I could stretch this out, infinite amounts here, right? So I could say, write a casual, I could actually basically just keep doing casual ones if I wanted, right? So I could do a bunch of different casual ones, or I could do more formal ones, or I could do this in a million different ways, right? And then stretch that out down here, right? And basically have this continue to generate this copy for me. So really, really cool stuff. I think in terms of ads, this can save you a ton of time and money. If you're an ad agency and you run a ton of ads and you need A/B copy, this is a big, big way to help improve that. And if you want the AI to write like you could definitely, make your prompt even better, right? So the prompt engineering part of this is really going to be helpful if you're running ads. All right, so the next example we're going to go through here is going to be email response. So I'm going to insert this here. Now, what's really cool about this, again, I could use a Zapier in a connection, right? Depends if I'm using like a certain type of contact form, right? Like if I'm using a form generator to generate a bunch of different contacts, right? And I'm putting those all in a huge sheet here. So I've done this a bunch of different software out there that basically you put out a form, could be a Google form, could be a bunch of different forms, right? And it actually fills out the form with contact name, subject, body, right? So in this case, it's emails. It could be contact form submissions, right? And I need to write replies to these people, okay? So I could extend this even further. So this is basically saying, write a personalized email response to the sender. Don't repeat the email subject name, right? And if I generate this, it basically takes this very generic email here and personalizes it to this particular person, for John Smith, right? Now, what you could do, you could actually take this a lot further. Now, I think, again, using like the forms example I mentioned earlier, let's say I wanted to reject them, right? So let's say it's going to be a rejection, right? So if let's say it's somebody applying for something and I want to reject that application, right? I could actually have the copy in here and I could copy that and just say, okay, this is a formal rejection for this person, right? And then formally reject them with AI, right? Have the AI write a beautiful formal rejection or acceptance for that person, right? And you can extrapolate that a million different ways. I could think of a million different ways you could use this to write personalized copy for people. But if you're importing forms and you need to write personalized responses, you can have the AI do that for you very quickly and very easily now using this AI formula. Massive, massive time saver. You could probably eliminate some people, that are doing this for you. If you're hiring VAs or people overseas to do this, AI could easily do this for you and save you a ton of money. This could also work for contact form stuff, right? If people are just writing you emails, asking you questions about your business, et cetera, you could have pre-built AI responses, right? So if the AI response is, check this documentation or, here's our refund information, whatever, right? You could pre-write the AI for that, right? So write a personalized email that explains our refund policy, write a personalized email that explains our documentation, for our API, whatever, right? Copy that, paste it here, generate and insert, boom, done. And if you had a Zapier connection, you could actually have that send an email as well to that person. That's another level. That could be another video. Again, maybe if you want help with that, contact me at lucidaistrategies.com. I'll help you do that. All right. So in this next one, we're going to look at a call summary. So this is actually super useful for me. So I do a bunch of different types of cold outreach. So I'll do cold call, cold email. I'll also do warm email, warm calls, right? People that have, reached out to me and I'm just basically contacting someone who's reached out to me or they're in my newsletter, whatever, right? So this is actually really cool. So if you are doing, those types of calls or it's a call center or something, right? We have notes, right? So when we do a bunch of calls, we take notes. And typically when you have like a call strategy with sales, you'll have someone who initiates and has a startup call, and then you'll have someone like a closer who actually takes that call to the next level, schedules another call to actually close the deal, right? So in that case, what's going to happen is the first person who gets on the call is going to have call notes, right? And then the closer maybe doesn't have time to read all the call notes. Maybe it's like 3 pages of call notes, right? Maybe they've been on 3 calls with this person already and they have all these notes, right? So you can use AI to summarize this. So in this case, it's saying summarize the conversation with potential software purchaser in no more than 1 sentence. Do not repeat the person's name or role. And then if I hit generate, obviously it's going to go ahead and generate that for me. Now, I don't know that that's the most useful example, right? With no more than 1 sentence, do not repeat the person's name or role. I think you could do a way better job with this. I think you could say, summarize this person in terms of their needs. What are things that they've used before? What is their name? What is their role? What is their potential budget, right? You could get all this from calls with people, summarize that all, generate that, and then you have a really nice summary for the next person who's going to take that call, or maybe just a follow-up call. If you've already had calls with this person, you don't remember what you spoke about them with. You don't want to have to read 3 pages of conversation. Okay, here's their name. Here's what we spoke about. Here's their potential budget, right? And just have AI summarize that all for you. So, if you're taking calls, if you're doing call feedback, this could even be for like a call center, right? So if you're having, people pick up the phone and speak to people, they just want to register that, like not necessarily sales, right? It could be for someone who's doing, like call centers for repairs or call centers for, service businesses and things like that, where you just need to funnel the conversation to the right person. You could do the same thing where you say, hey, summarize the conversation. This should either be a repair call, could be a service call, could be, a call where somebody wants to speak to somebody, directly, whatever. Summarize the conversation and then direct it to the right person. So you could take this to the next level and actually have it direct to the right person, just depending on a creative you get with this. So some really cool examples here of how you can use this AI today to really streamline your business, using Google Sheets right now. All right, so the last thing I'm going to show you here is how you can actually create a table using AI. So I'm going to hit create a table here, and I'm going to use one of their examples here. So I'm going to say create a table to manage a call center, okay? Now, what's really cool about this is if I really don't have time to structure a table, right? I just went ahead and said create a table to manage a call center, right? So it has call ID, customer name, issue type, call time, resolved, notes. So this is kind of what I was mentioning earlier. It'll actually do all that for you, right? So I can now have a template that I can put together very, very quickly and pass off to somebody else who can then fill this out for me. I could see this being useful in a million different ways for a million different types of sheets. If I don't know exactly where to start with the type of sheet that I want to use, I could come here and have AI build this sheet out for me and then customize it as needed, right? And they're always going to do a pretty good job with the initial sheet. You're probably going to have to customize it for your own business needs, but the out-of-the-box stuff it does with AI is actually really, really good. Now, the other cool thing you can do is actually develop formula. So here it says create a formula that counts the number of resolved calls. So if I click that, it's actually going to develop a formula for me. So no more fumbling around with AI, right? So if I copy this, let's insert it right here. So if I copy this, you can see that this is the number of resolved calls. So if I just say, number of resolved calls, right? You can see that it's 4. And if we see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 4 resolved calls. So let's say this is for one agent. We want to see this agent's efficiency, right? How many calls are they actually solving, right? Maybe I could create another formula that calculates the number of resolved calls to unresolved calls, right? To see how effective this agent is being, right? So we gave them a template, right? We can now track them, using these formulas. And this is all done using AI, which is going to save a ton of money in a million different business applications. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. Give me a like on the video if you liked the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more AI strategies like this for your business, for your personal work, for whatever you want to use. And drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know what you think about where AI is heading and what you think about using this type of AI in your Excel sheets, your Google Sheets to improve your efficiency.